Hi, welcome everyone to a unique format of Roundtable from Women of Community Banking podcast. This is the second roundtable that we are doing, and we call it as the future of retail. And I have got two special guests with me, whom I really respect and admire, two leaders from retail banking. I've got Michelle with me. Michelle is the Chief Retail Officer of the Washington Trust Company. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hi. I've got Lisa with me. Lisa is a market president for Florida for VyStar. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Thank you both for joining in today's roundtable. We wanted to keep it small, intimate, for real conversation. So let's kick off this roundtable with a couple of not controversial, couple of interesting topics to talk about. Right now, both Michelle and Lisa have spent years and decades in retail. They've run branches, they've done operations. Now it's time to get their wisdom out, right? For the lack of better words. Let's start with one question. Let me maybe start with Michelle. Michelle, how does modern retail banking mean to you? And how do you think has the definition of retail evolved over the past 5 years?
It's a great question, and a question that I think about quite a bit. Obviously, in the role that we have, Lisa and I, right? We're looking at brand strategy. We're looking at just how our customers and prospects' preferences have changed, and really how we need to make sure our brick and mortar locations, our call centers, our back office all align seamlessly around the customer's wants and needs and personalizes this so it's on an individual basis. So for me, modern banking is a shift, and we've started to see that shift from a transactional center to an educational center. So what do I mean by that? It's no longer, hey, I'm going to take Lisa's deposit. Thank you so much. Have a great day. It's now I'm taking that opportunity that Lisa's in front of me to ask her questions based on what I see in front of me, the information. And what that change has done is it's really also not just the systems that we utilize within retail banking, but the people that we hire and how we train. We're looking for different skill sets for people so that way they're able to have those kind of key conversations, because who knows the next time I may see Lisa. She may come in once every 12 months. She may never come back into my branch again. This may be my only interaction and chance to wow her. So in addition to that, you need to make sure in your brick and mortar locations that you can have that personalized experience. And when I think of the evolution piece, one of the pieces that I dream big about is that you can walk in to a branch and it'll know my past history. It'll know that I was online looking at a car loan, and it'll come up all the digital marketing within the branch around auto loan personalized to me. I get to the teller line, or I get to the pod, if you will, and they know my name, they know why I'm there. We're not there yet, but that's where we're heading. All the systems, all the integration, all the technology that we're looking at, all the training and skill building with our teams is going to lead us to that.
Understand. Absolutely, that makes sense. And Lisa, what do you think? I mean, what are your 2 cents on this?
Well, I think Michelle is right on. One of the things that we talk about all the time in retail is how can we hire and train that universal employee? Because when someone walks through the door, they want whoever they interact with to know and understand everything that is offered within the financial institution. It really doesn't matter if that person has been there one day or 10 years. They really expect that we are the experts and can advise them. And so it's really important that we look for those employees that have that universal understanding. It is also important that we are competing with all kinds of customer service organizations. It's just not about other financial institutions. The individual that walks into the branch now has a very high expectation around service and how we interact with them. They're used to AI models, again, that can understand things and have expectations and understandings even before a conversation starts. So they expect that our individuals, employees, can also do that. So we've got to train them to be able to ask great questions and then align the solution to those answers that our members are providing. And then I would just finish with the technology piece and how we incorporate all of that, because our employees obviously have to be able to interact with all the new technology that's coming forward, which allows us to be better prepared and to really model what is needed for anyone who walks through our doors.
Yeah, and that's perfectly covered. I mean, that was an amazing, well crafted, I would say, point of view by both of you. Absolutely right. So now, moving on to um, a double click, right, on the retail ecosystem. Now, there is a balance that is required, right, between scale and what you call as personalization or intimacy. So, Lisa, you touched upon AI models. As a consumer, if I am a consumer, right, I want my financial institution to be that active. If I have a mortgage, I should get HELOC offers, right? Because that's relevant to me. I should not get a random personal loan offer. My question is that how do you balance scale with intimacy, especially when your frontline faces both efficiency and empathy? Because that's a very fine line to balance. You should be empathetic, but you should also be efficient in whatever you do. And retail is extremely difficult, right? So how do you balance scale and intimacy? Maybe Lisa, why don't you start with?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the bottom line is tremendously important to all organizations. We need to remain solvent. We need to perform well for our members, holders, if you're outside of a credit union organization. So that means that we need to make sure that we are being wise with how we use our time and our resources. And of course, our most valuable resource is our employees. So how do we balance that? And I do think one of the tools that allows us to be efficient is technology. So the more that we can engage successfully with technology, all the newest bells and whistles that are coming out allow us to be efficient with time without sacrificing the experience for those that we're interacting with. It just allows us to get there a little bit faster and have fewer clunky or older systems, allows us to really make a difference for those that are there. I think as we move forward, we're also looking at ways that we can interact with members in the way that they choose. So people want to have choice, whether they want to walk into a branch or pick up a phone and talk with someone or use an automated system, chat. They want to be able to have access on their phone and at their computer and every type of resource. So being able to be efficient with some of those things that are maybe not in person also allows for that experience to be personalized to the needs of those that are coming in and perhaps save on some personnel cost as well, but keeping everybody happy and giving them exactly what they want.
Yep, that makes sense. Michelle, do you want to add?
Absolutely. Lisa gave a great foundation answer there. So I won't repeat a lot of the great things that she said because they were spot on. What I would add, a few things around those points, is just the key part that you brought up as well is just timely, relevant communications. So Lisa was talking about customer preferences, and I think it's so important that we, again, meet the customer where they're at. If they want us to text, email, call, that should be how we're doing it, right? We should have those conversations at account opening as soon as they become members or customers of our organization. And we should, again, set clear expectations if we're going to communicate in other methods as well. But what the findings are, there was a great research study actually done about when people are more apt to make change. And to me, this is a no-brainer, but hey, there was an article about it, that when you're going through a life event, you are more likely to reevaluate your current situation than others. So for example, if you're looking to make a big decision and buy a home, you are more likely at that point to listen to solutions or other possible scenarios around your house, whether that's looking at maintaining the house, besides the mortgage and financing of the house. So we need to make sure as financial advisors that we leverage these changes in our customers' lives as opportunities to further educate them on the other products, services, or just things that they should be considering as they go through these life cycles. And to your point around marketing, it takes it one step further, that life cycle or lifestyle marketing. It's one step further, adding that personal component, that touchback, whether it's an email, a chat, a text message, a phone call. And I think that really is what is a differentiator here. And also, in order for any of this to work, the first thing you need is a customer-centric environment, which thankfully both Lysa and I have.
Yep.
So our institutions, whether they're community-based, credit union-based, really we are here to support the member or to support the customer. So because we have that, our employees innately look for ways to wow or to exceed the customer's expectations. But not every organization may have that. So first off, you really need to have that foundation. So all of your team is thinking, hey, if I didn't have to spend 5-10 hours a week doing X, Y, and Z operational tasks, and we could automate those, I could spend more time out in the community at events, out doing business development or business calling with my employees, with my customers, with prospective customers. So it's really identifying what is taking up time from your team. Should they be spending their time doing this? Is there a better, more efficient way to do this? And if there is, how do we do it? What does it cost? And how can we put it on a roadmap to implement? Because again, we can't do everything overnight. And if we can't do it, is there somebody out there that we can partner with that can do it? So again, you're going to need the help of your team to identify some of this stuff because you're not in the day-to-day. So you're going to need that line of sight. And the last piece I'll say that ties to that is if your employees find it easy to transact and to do what they need to do to help the customer, that then reflects the customer's journey as well. That means the customer has an ease of doing business with us, and that's what we want. You don't want to make it complicated for someone to open an account, to contact you, to apply for a loan, apply for a credit card, because again, they're going to go somewhere else where it's seamless and easy. So if it's easy for your employees, it'll be easy for your customers and easy for your prospects, and at the end of the day, you'll get more relationships from it.
Yep, absolutely. All amazing points, well taken. So it looks like this roundtable is giving us pieces of gold nuggets. These are really, really important topics that you're talking about, and this is great, right? So moving on to a debatable question, I would say. I mean, again, I call myself a zillennial who's between the Gen Zs and the early ages of millennial, 31, right? Now, yes, digital is really important to me because for me, a financial institution, what is a financial institution? Where I have a sleek and sexy mobile experience and I can move my money from point A to point B. That's one. And second, you need to have enough customer service, right? I mean, you should be diverse in customer service. It will be easy, click, one tap, one call. But again, I'm another person who also wants to walk into a branch at times. I don't remember the last time I went into a branch, but I would prefer a financial institution has a branch near where I stay. So the question is, what are you doing today to future-proof your branch network and balance it in a way that it complements the digital capabilities of your financial institution, or rather any financial institution? So what are your 2 cents on future-proofing your branch strategy/network? Maybe, Michelle, you can start with your POV.
Sure. I would say, the first and foremost thing is to really go back to the strategy behind why you have the branch footprint you do. What are you trying to service? What are you trying to accomplish? And again, some of the goals for some of the branches may be, to your point, more of brand awareness or marketing. And they may not be huge drivers of deposits or loans, but you strategically feel you need to have a presence there. Now, if that's the case, you have to make sure you clearly articulate that. Because again, if you're looking at profit and loss, right off the bat, you're thinking, why do we even have this? So I think it's very important that people in my role, Lysa's role, we communicate our strategy and why we're in the territories that we're in, and really how that strategy then is scalable and is longer term. And it's also varying up the service levels that are within that territory. Not every branch needs to look and feel the same. It can reflect the community that it's serving, and it should. And each of those branches, those different service models, should also be goaled or deemed profitable differently because they are different service models. So I think that's a piece that is separate, but we could always talk about. But the first step is you need to evaluate your current branch footprint. You need to optimize it. Do you need to move? Do you need to relocate? Do you need to consolidate? Do you need to close? Do you need to have that conversation? Why do I have this? And defend. That's okay too.
Yeah.
And then who are you looking to attract? Where are you looking to go? And what expectations and services do they expect? And we do know, to your point, that digital is a huge piece. So the first piece behind digital is, and I'll go back to, I think we've all seen technology that's been implemented and not supported by frontline staff somewhere in our career. And we've seen when it is supported, and there is a big difference. So what do I mean by that? I went into a company once, personally shopping, and there was an ITM that nobody was using. This is when ITMs were like the big buzzword, right? Yeah. And I'm like, I think that's an ITM over there. Like, I hadn't seen one in a branch yet, and I was like, okay. But nobody's going to it. Everyone's still going up to the teller line, business as usual. And why? Because the staff did not see the importance of it and did not bring the customer over, so it became part of their transaction. It became a convenience for the customer. So some of the institutions I've worked for have done a lot, which I applaud, around educating the employees on why the technology is important for their customers, and showing them and giving them expectations on what that looks like. Back when ATMs were rolled out years ago, one of the things was how many deposits could you get on a daily basis into the ATM, take them out of the line, right? There are fun things that you could play, but what we were doing was trying to educate our customers and change their behaviors to show them that we were still relevant. Because guess what? If we didn't do it, the bank down the road was going to do it, someone else was going to do it. So again, making sure that your teams are aware of why it's important, the benefits to the customer, even the benefits to them, the benefits to the organization, and then again, celebrating their successes through it, I think is a big piece of making sure that you can convert over, because our customers expect that digital and in-person balance, and you need to be able, not only from a service standpoint, but across the channel standpoint, to be able to give that seamless experience.
That makes sense. Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, well, Michelle is spot on. So thank you for sharing all those strategies. I'll see what I can expand on just a little bit. We do find that our members, our clientele, find a certain level of comfort knowing that there is a brick and mortar location within a reasonable drive. It does not have to be on every corner anymore, but as long as they know that there's a visible presence, they feel comfortable and will be interested in at least exploring that financial institution. But I completely agree that a review of where we have locations is critical on an ongoing basis. You do have to optimize your locations, because what was the best location 10 years ago may not be appropriate anymore. Maybe a mall went in place, or there's a new housing development, or there's growth, on the outskirts of town. Maybe one area has been left behind, and so potentially that may not be the place you need to be anymore. So always looking at where consolidations can happen or relocations. I do think that there's an opportunity where we have a dense concentration of branches that we can perhaps go down to fewer locations and still meet all of the needs of those that want to come into a branch. The other thing that I think is really important is understanding when people are using those digital and online services. And what I mean by that is, and also contact center, I want to say. So sometimes those services are things that we would prefer that we have an opportunity to interact with them in person. So as an example, let's say someone was making a very large deposit that was not customary for their account. this is a great opportunity for them to interact in person with an individual, to have a conversation. Hey, what's happening in your life? What is generating this large item? And can we talk to you? Maybe you're buying a house, maybe you're looking to retire, maybe you just relocated, who knows? But that is exactly the moment in time where we want to have those conversations and make sure that we're there to help and support them through whatever is happening in their life. So we want to have those digital services available, and either then have a follow-up trigger where the team is advised so they can follow up, or have that be an opportunity for them to stop in a branch and really have that dialogue. Conversely, we don't want them to have to come in for a service need that would be a lot easier for them to do from their couch at home, like change an address that is just a mailing, maybe a P.O. box or something like that, or reorder a debit card because their name has been smudged. So these are kinds of things that we want to find to drive the needs of our members and our clients to the right channel so that they can have an effective experience, but also not lose that one-on-one interaction when it's really most vital and something is changing in their life.
That's no, I mean, that's the reason I love talking to you guys. You've got so many ideas coming out. It's amazing. Now, can I ask both of you this controversial question that I talked about, and both of you made cases. You're like, okay, will we have to answer this question, Anurag? Is this leave aside that question? But still, let me ask you. Let me ask Michelle. Let me actually ask Lysa to start with, because Michelle needs some answer that question. I want to understand, or rather, one quick question. What's that one belief that you hold about retail banking, Lysa, that most others would not agree to? Because I myself am a rebel. I always do the exact opposite thing that I'm meant to do. So let me ask the rebel Lysa, tell me, what is that one belief that you have you might not, others might agree to?
Well, I guess I'd have to say that my belief is that the retail branch is here to stay. I think that we've started to illustrate why I hold that belief, and I think over time, maybe a couple decades, I won't tell you how many, but a few, we've definitely heard a wind that, oh, we're going away from branches, people don't want them anymore, and we've got too many, and we need to modernize them and have an all digital experience, even if you do have a branch. We don't want any people there. And I guess my controversial view is that I don't think that that is the model for every location throughout all of our different footprints. I think we still need those physical locations, maybe not as many, but I think we need the physical locations, and I think we need humans there that can interact and show how much we care, especially when lives are changing, or to identify a gap when lives aren't changing and help them prepare for stuff that in the future that they may not even be aware of. So I guess that would be the point that I would make.
Okay, I agree to that. Michelle, what are your 2 cents?
Well, I have to say, Lysa picked a good one, because I would say definitely I would wholeheartedly agree with the fact of just the change of the branches and the change of the perception of the usage of branches. I think that's just over time. And there was a time, I remember starting in banking, and they were like, the branch is going to be dead.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, I picked the wrong career. I should figure something else out. And thankfully, I'm still here. So that's been great. I would say, to dovetail a little bit on that you always hear digital first, right? It's the way people want it. But there is so much data and information out there, depending on what segment you look. And I think sometimes we overlook our small business segment, and particularly. They are heavy utilizers of our branch footprint. A lot of it just because the way their businesses are run. And that is such a big piece of the communities that we serve. And I always feel that quite often when we look at our marketplace, we look at the consumers and we forget the business. So that would be my piece, would be, in our service model and in our designs, in our products, in our services, also think the consumer is very different than business. Yes, business owners are consumers as well, but their needs, their thoughts are very, very diverse. Can you meet those needs? So that would be my big piece, is to equally spend your time not just with consumer, but the small business growth, and really looking at that base and making sure of the right products, services to meet their needs.
That's really good. And I mean, I think what I missed in this roundtable was inviting a chief digital officer to have a conversation with both of you, right? Then it would have been fun. That guys, let's fight.
It's not that we don't love them, right? We get it, but I think studies do show for certain reasons people want a person. And in place of technology, if you look at JD Power, for example, not this year's JD Power, but last year's JD Power, the lack of empathy that came across the digital first channels were a key differentiator where the in-person excelled. People want the balance of both, and it is extremely difficult to weave in empathy into an automated service. Now, there are things out there that are being tried as we speak today to do that, but it's going to be a journey. So again, until that's perfected, we've got some time. So from a branch standpoint, I think we can perfect the marrying of the in-person digital better by the time that gets up to speed.
I mean, I absolutely agree. I'll give you my example. One of the large banks I bank with, I applied for a credit card and I got the credit. I mean, not got the credit card. It took me 3.5 months to get the credit card. Long story why. So what happened? I mean, my address is something Christopher Columbus Drive. The DR or the drive was missing. I don't know why and how. And we had no idea or clue that was missing. And I was just going in circles. So I went to a branch to figure out, guys, what is the mess about? I got to understand that that's not there. And it was fixed within a few minutes. And the person in the branch, the relationship manager, ensured that I get my credit card within the next 4 days. That is a prime example of things which I could not solve while calling a contact center. And I went on in circles to understand what is the reason behind it. So I'm a huge believer of retail. Branches now, digitally sexy, but you need branches. Even I'm at times termed as a next-gen banker, banking consumer who is looking to park their money. I am not comfortable just banking with a digital bank. I need a brick-and-mortar format too. So it's very well received. I have two interesting questions for you guys. One is, continuation of this question is, fintechs are pushing the boundary, right? They're pushing the edges. I'm a huge fan of Chime, by the way. I'm a customer of Chime. It takes 2.5 minutes to open an account in Chime. It's again all digital. Versus in a traditional CFI, not 2.5, maybe 5 or 10. But still, there are core differentiators between a CFI and a Chime or any other fintech. My question is that, what is a core differentiator you refuse to compromise on, right? We're talking about fintechs and the current brick and mortar plus digital format. That's a question.
Lisa, I can start if you want. So for that one, if you want to look at account opening for one, because there was almost this wave of, and maybe it was during COVID, pre-COVID, but just wave of convenience. It needs to be quick to open an account, which I agree you need to balance that technology, that speed. But what we lost in some cases, so for example, right, if you have an online account opening, it takes 2.5 minutes. How much in that 2.5 minutes am I really getting to know you and build a relationship? I became transactional and I lost the in-person power where I ask you questions. And guess what I'm doing is, people are people, right? We deal with people. We want to because we want to have a relationship. We want to trust them. Trust is a big piece when you look at why people choose the financial institutions that they do. It's not always the be-all, end-all, but it's up there. And trust comes from the representative that you have. It can also come from the technology. But again, we're losing opportunity to deepen that wallet share because we lack the relationship. So let's say you're looking for a mortgage. Would you be apt just because it took you 2.5 minutes to open an account to go back to them? No, right? But if I talked to you and I gave you advice, you would be more apt to at least talk to me
Absolutely.
again
Absolutely.
and have that conversation.
Yep.
So you have to weave that in, right? So for example, institutions do have expedited online account opening, which has become table stakes. For those that choose to use it, it's table stakes. You have to do it. However, the innovative institutions have added in a physical component. So there's a touch point in an onboarding program that is personalized to the person opening the account. If you don't have that, you need to have that because you are losing market share and potential market share.
Yeah.
Michelle, I couldn't agree with you more. I think you really hit it about the relationship piece. I think that is just critical. And the other thing that I would layer in there is as financial institutions, we have an obligation to our shareholders, to our members, to make sure that we are fiscally sound and that we are taking the time to get to know those that are banking with us and make sure that we minimize the opportunity for fraud and other kinds of scams and things like that, which is also takes a little bit more time and diligence. And that is a commitment that we make as financial institutions, and we're not going to let that piece go. It does go back to trust as well for everyone who's involved with that. And before we just skip over, I do want to say, I think we should bring sexy back to the branches.
That's what that's a t-shirt I want to wear, right? Let's make CFI sexy again. Absolutely right. One last question, food for thought, right? Let's maybe start with Lysa. If you had to build a retail network or a model from scratch today, right? My first question is, who would be your first hire, right? And second, what would be your first promise to a consumer?
Well, for a period of time, I worked at Bank of America, for a long period of time, I will say. And when I was at Bank of America, we had a program that was called Premier Banking. And in that program, the teams were focused on their book of clients. And they developed relationships with those individuals, their families, they understood their businesses, their goals. And it was the most rewarding segment, I will say, the most rewarding segment that I have experienced, both as a client and as someone employed by the organization. The teams were really motivated to support those clients on their journey. And so if I was going to start my own organization, I would be looking for someone who was relationship based, like we've talked about throughout this podcast, but in particular in that model where they have a group of clients that they get to know the entire family and they make a difference and really change the lives of the individuals they work with. And not only is that impactful to the clients or members, it really makes a difference for the employees. The employees are having fun. The employees can see the differences that they are making, so they want to do more of it. And so it's a great environment for everyone that is involved there. And I think your second question was, what was my first promise to a member? Is that what you said, or client?
Yep.
I think our promise would be that we are going to be here for you no matter where you are on your financial journey. And we make that promise now, which is part of why I'm here at VyStar, is because I believe in that, and it is something that we live every day, and I would want to continue that.
Interesting. Michelle, what do you think? Think through. Interesting.
Yeah, Lisa had a great response. My first hire, I was thinking about this because, I like to take some time to think about things before I speak to them. But off the cuff, I was originally thinking, well, what would I need first? So I'm a little different than Lisa. I love the relationship-based idea, but I'd actually go with strategy first. I'd go with strategy, someone on that realm, even someone in the technology space. Because what I'd want to make sure first is when we're carving out our bank and our brand and our value proposition, how are we going to do that? And I think it's important first to define that and what it looks like, and then fill it in with the roles. So I'd like someone for me that could, sit there with me and be like, well, what about this? And challenge the different ideas and different service models. Because what I'd want my bank to be, which I think we hear a lot today, and I'm not sure how well it's orchestrated or executed, but hey, it varies. Maybe it's not as consistent across, but similar to Lisa would be the bank of you. So whatever you want from that bank, that's what we'll be. However you want to experience us, that's how we'll be. But in order to do that, how can you be all things to all people? It's a very large, probably unrealistic task that I would have set for myself. But I'm ambitious, so I would say I'll take it on. Where I've seen other institutions that have looked at, a smaller subset of a group. So you might be really good with airlines, for example, and then you cater to that. I'm going to start with be all things to all people. May fall on my face, but that would be my institution.
I love the strategy idea. That was spot on, actually.
Thank you. Well, so a relationship you need, right? Like you need the execution, but I think at the beginning I was like, I need to develop what that is. So as you bring people on, you can train to that and they know it and they can go out and do those things in the community. So it works hand in hand.
Yeah.
But this was great, right? Again, around 40 minutes of packed conversation on the future of retail. Again, dovetailing on importance of branches. Digital is there, but let's make retail sexy again. So that's the end motto of this conversation, guys. So again, Lisa and Michelle, thank you. I mean, I completely appreciate this time spent with you today. Looking forward to doing this more.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. And it was just wonderful. Lisa's great. I'll do it again with Lisa in a heartbeat.
You too, Michelle. It was very fun.
Exactly. So let's plan for some more. Some more of these. Maybe I'll send you a few slots for next month, and we'll get a broader group: retail versus digital. Now let's see. What do you find? I mean, three retail officers, three digital officers. Let's okay.
Yeah. That'd be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, I would.
Okay then. Thank you both. I appreciate this time, and I'll send across the video once the post production is done, right? But I'll be in touch, and you can see posters going out on LinkedIn. Please feel free to like and share. That's the way how we get engagement on LinkedIn. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.